generations, homework has served a simple purpose. Students practice what they've learned, instructors review the work, and the assignment becomes evidence of understanding. But recently, something new has entered the picture. Students can now ask artificial intelligence systems to generate explanations, write essays, even solve complex technical problems, which raises an uncomfortable question. If a machine can complete the assignment, what exactly does the assignment measure? Welcome back to the EdTech Curio Cabinet. Hello again, I'm Christina, the Curio Steward. And in this podcast, we explore curiosities in education using four lenses: the artifact, the technology or trend we're examining; the pattern, where we've seen something similar before; the paradox, the unexpected insight hidden inside the story; and the signal, a small clue about where learning might be headed next. Today's Curio sits right at the intersection of learning technology and assessment: artificial intelligence that can complete student assignments. Modern generative AI systems are remarkably capable. They can write essays, generate computer code, solve many types of mathematical problems, explain concepts in multiple ways, and even walk step by step through a solution. For students working independently, these tools can feel like incredibly helpful study partners. A student can ask for clarification, they can request another example, or explore a concept from multiple angles in real time. In that sense, AI can function almost like an always available tutor. But homework sits at a unique position in education. It happens outside the classroom. It is typically unsupervised. And it has historically served as both practice and evidence. And that's where the tension begins. Recent research and policy discussions have started to focus specifically on this issue. The International Center for Academic Integrity has highlighted how generative AI tools complicate traditional assumptions about authorship and independent work. And at the same time, guidance from the UNESCO has emphasized that AI tools can support learning, but only if their use is clearly understood and intentionally designed for. So the question is no longer simply, can students use AI for homework, but rather, what role should homework play in a world where answers can be generated instantly? This is not the first time technology has disrupted traditional assignments. Calculators once raised questions about whether students would still learn arithmetic. Search engines changed how students approach research. Online collaboration tools blurred the boundaries between individual and group work. And in each case, educators initially worried that technology might undermine learning. But over time, assignments adapted. Calculators became standard tools, and math education shifted towards conceptual understanding. Research assignments evolved from finding information to evaluating and synthesizing it. And collaboration became an intentional part of many learning environments. Recent discussions around AI and homework reflect a similar pattern. Researchers and educators in groups like EDUCAUSE have noted that generative AI is not simply another tool. It is a tool that produces outputs that look like completed assignments, which makes its impact on homework particularly pronounced. And this connects directly to something we explored in Season 1. In Why STEM Assessment Still Looks Like the 50s, we saw that assessment systems tend to change more slowly than the technologies that surround them, because assessment doesn't just support learning. It signals competence, it certifies achievement. So when new tools emerge, educators don't abandon assignments, they simply rethink them. Now, for many years, homework has quietly served two roles. It helps students practice, and it provides evidence of learning. But generative AI has begun to separate those two roles. If a student can generate a complex answer to a problem, the assignment itself may no longer reliably demonstrate understanding. And this is where the paradox emerges. The more capable AI becomes at producing correct answers, the less those answers tell us about what the student actually knows. Recent conversations in higher education, including policy guidance from institutions and frameworks discussed by organizations like OECD, increasingly reflect this dynamic tension. Educators are beginning to recognize that traditional homework may no longer serve as a clear signal of individual understanding. But that doesn't mean homework is less valuable. It simply changes its role. Homework may return more explicitly to its original purpose: practice, a space where students experiment, make mistakes, explore ideas, develop their understanding. Even if AI is involved in that process, in this sense, AI doesn't eliminate homework, it reframes it. One signal emerging from this shift is that assessment may become more interactive and more focused on process. If homework becomes less reliable as proof, then evaluation may increasingly happen in environments where thinking can be observed. Educators are already experimenting with approaches such as having students explain their reasoning in real time, having them demonstrate their problem solving ability in a guided session, oral assessments or short defenses of their work, iterative assignments where students show how their thinking evolves, and then the structured use of AI, where students must critique or refine generated outputs. These approaches align with broader guidance emerging from higher education organizations and policy bodies around the world. UNESCO emphasizes the importance of AI transparency and critical judgment, encouraging students not to just use AI tools, but to understand and evaluate them. And this points to a broader shift. Assessment may move away from asking, can the student produce the answer? And towards asking, can the student understand, explain, and apply the idea? In a world where machines can generate answers easily, the thinking process becomes the most valuable evidence of learning. Every new technology forces education to revisit an old question: what does it actually mean to know something? If knowledge were simply the ability to produce answers, machines would now outperform most students. But education has never really been about answers only. It has always been about developing the ability to reason, analyze, and solve problems. And those capabilities remain profoundly human. Education technology evolves quickly, but the patterns of learning change slowly. That's why we keep the cabinet open. Thanks for exploring the EdTech Curio Cabinet.